Yes, up to Haven right now. It is going to be a big map for Complexity. And my thing for Complexity into this map here, Lex, is I think they should just stick to their game plan on how they play Haven usually, because they've already beaten Envy before on this map. They've played very well versus Genji on this map as well. Now it's up to Envy to see how they readapt and really seal the deal into 2 maps in this best out of 3. So as they take control of the attacker side for Complexity, their map pick, Envy decides to choose on the defender side to start things off. And we do have Complexity looking for an eventual split into B, maybe, because it's still very slow towards the garage. We are walking up towards long C, but we still have to wait to see if they can get this first kill, and they cannot onto crashies, but it's traded off.
Complexity moving to the bomb site. Envy already wise to it. They've already flanked through spawn, so they've known for quite some time that this is going to be a C play. And they're willing to give the bomb site. Ohai taking his sweet time on the plant, so they won't even get the spike down. Unfortunate there for Complexity. They could have at least snagged a consolation prize. It doesn't come out. Clean piss round from Envy. And, you know, I just was peeping at the mini-map quite early on in that round. We saw Food walking all the way up to A lobby immediately, so they were very aware that that C play was inevitable, and I think Envy had appropriate rotates, so that is, you know, a concern when you're not running a Cypher, right? Even if you do have a Killjoy in your arsenal, this is a map where flanks are prevalent and frequent.
Yep.
So this is going to be probably a recurring theme from the side of Envy to take that map control and get aggressive with it. But, you know, these opening rounds, especially if you're on... okay, actually, Complexity is forcing into this round. I was about to talk about if you decide to force into it. They have. And they're working up towards B, and they're going to make contact here any moment now, Vansili.
Yeah, and this is where it's their bread and butter. Like I said, they've had a lot of success actually pushing into this B side versus Genji, and even AGM watching the flankers practically trying to push forward. It's already a 1-man advantage, and they're waiting for this cage to fall down from FNS, but it's still going to be Food getting the first contact, and we still have ohai able to escape with his life. That means they all fall back. They regain control of the garage, but there's a trap wire there that will give their position away. And as they rush in, though, they are coming into this site towards C. mummAy's towards the back, only has the ghost, hasn't upgraded to anything. He still manages to get the kill on their sharky. He's still very healthy towards the back of the site. AGM gets a frag onto Food as they finally fall down and concede the C site for Envy. It's a 4-on-2 now, and I don't think the last 2 players have anything big in terms of the economy. I do see a Spectre, I guess, through that smoke right now from the X-ray in the point of view of ohai, but we are trying to see here if kaboose. Oh man, that's unlucky on that timing. Now on a 3 versus 1, FNS is trying to do some work. He did. He got 2 kills. I guess it was a 4 versus 1 where he got 2 kills out of that. And that's good enough for Complexity, though. They got the round off the force buy. They're going to force an eco or a mixed buy out of Envy, and they have a chance here to just take the lead.
That's the downside of a Stinger, poor XP3. Frantically switching weapons, looking for a bullet somewhere in some magazine, just not to be found. FNS, like you said, collecting 2. Not the worst eco in the world, but the fact matter is, you know... you're going to give up, if you're going to win pistol and then give up the round following, like, it's not just the economic advantage that you're ceding, right? That is so frustrating. It's a frustrating loss, and it's a momentum and a morale shift. However, mummAy making sure that not all is lost, puts himself back in the driver's seat of this round, at least for his team. 5v4, finding that Vandal headshot at mid. That quick early aggression, not expected at all by Complexity, it seems to me, but regardless, they are still going to roll out in this spread default, just trying to sniff out any aggression from Envy. But really, outside of the sewer setup and this A setup from Envy, there really isn't much on the map that we can talk about, other than the fact that they're going to walk into this now. So ohai, due to make contact in a moment, see whether or not they're going to get anything at all. Kaboose, dismissing away, just yeeting right out of there, doesn't even care. And Complexity, again, this has got to be so frustrating getting ecos like this, but in 3v4 now, ohai entries here with his Phantom, AGM soon to follow. Okay, so now we have a clean site entry from Complexity, and this is looking so much better than it did a moment ago. But Envy not out of this yet. Still need to be so careful as Complexity put that spike down, but Jonah falls, crashing with another leading headshot. 2 snappy ones. Wow, Complexity back and forth in this round and back again in the swing in favor of Envy. And that's off the back of a crashy Sheriff that just won't quit. AGM desperately looking to cling onto this round for Complexity, but it doesn't matter. AGM falls, food gets it done. Crashies, hello?
Beautiful
Shots.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. So right there, I love the bait and switch that started off from Caboose and from FNS. He's going to be the one on the top of the sewers. First point of contact because he's holding that angle where he shows half of his body. As soon as he shoots, people are going to focus on him. They're going to try to wide swing or gain control of that sewer side where Caboose could just land that shot and dismiss away. But as they take control of the site, the only person that bought a rifle into the round, mummAy, was out of position and the Phantom fell down. And then once they got control of the site, instead of going for a plant, ohai wanted to say, look, somebody else, Jonah P, take the spike, go for the plant, but they had shock darts. He saw it from his point of view that the shock darts was coming from the top of a link, so they couldn't plant right away. So they looked to reposition themselves to take control, and then crashies, just landing his shots with the sheriff. There is, unfortunate, as much as you want to do there, for complexity, when somebody's landing shots like that and it's one-shot kills at that distance, then it comes into favor of your opponents, and you hope to bring this match back into this round here. And thankfully, it starts with a spike plant towards the C side, as it's an open site for them to take. So Envy ready to play the retake game, and we'll see how they'll play it.
Man, there's so much to talk about in this round, but this retake from Envy, you do have the Killjoy ult being popped by complexity, and ohai is in the back of the site. See how long he lasts. He only finds one on a crashies, so the man advantage is still in complexity's favor. 3 on 4. FNS is actually already down C long, so he's pressuring these post-plant positions by complexity. They don't have a chance here, but actually, as I say that, there is a chance. It's Jonah P, and he did get a shock dart kill, but it won't be enough time left before the bomb or the spike should explode. Defenders will take it. 3-1. Man, Vancelia, let me unpack that round. Okay, so Envy first had to retake mid before moving to C. But before we even get to that point, I wanted to highlight something that, you know, over the past several matches that you and I have casted together, Vancelia, we have seen a lot of different creative approaches to holding, you know, the C bomb site, garage, the whole connector there. There's some pretty novel approaches to it. But generally speaking, you either are playing retake on the bomb site or you're holding it with teammates and crossfires. That said, in a lot of different matchups and a lot of different games that we've already casted, a lot of players will opt to try and, you know, hold their ground, fight and die on the bomb site and get as many as they can before they go out. But crashies, you know, getting caught out of position that early in the round, he didn't necessarily get all the info he needed. But with 2 players on A holding a setup, 2 players on B holding a setup, he knows he has no support. He concedes the bomb sites, the rotate come in, and that allows Envy to have this huge retake setup very early on after that spike gets planted. And this eco push will come onto A, and I imagine this is going to be a cleanup round for Envy. 3 kills come out quickly. AGM finds 1 though. So at least he gets 1. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that crashies' decision and the info that he gave his teammates, you know, you might not be in position at the time as a team to, you know, counter whatever the other team is rolling out at you. If it's a C push and you don't have your team in the right spot, right? That is, sometimes you got to give it up. And it was very close. He almost got caught out of position, but it allowed this beautiful mid retake. They fished out Sharky at the bottom of mid at grass, and it was fun to watch from Envy's point of view because it was just such a confident and appropriate play. AGM attempting the sneak plant over at C. Crashies wise to it. And what very nearly was, you know, complexity taking the lead following that eco round is a decisive 4-1 start here for Envy on the defensive side of Haven. So we'll see a full buy coming out for complexity at last, an operator onto ohai, and we'll see whether or not that changes things for us, Vancelia.
Yeah, it seems as though they're going to fully change that for Envy, where they don't want to go for an operator. I don't know if one of them maybe didn't have the full 5,000, but they're just going to go with rifles here and a Spectre for food. But the thing is, on that previous round, or 2 rounds ago rather, when they played that retake towards that site, just to add to it, is the kahunas on FNS just run down that long C and break that ultimate. I don't know why nobody wasn't protecting that that lockdown.
But he started the round out over a day, I think, or maybe at front B. That's what I mean. Is he had already been in that position to make that play because of the quick retake from Envy and clearing everything out. It was impressive to watch, man.
But while he pushes down there to break the ultimate, you kind of catch AGM throwing a set molly into the spike or onto the spike. So there was miscommunication definitely at that point on how they wanted to play that lockdown on complexity side. So I believe that the jitters are still there and they need to shake that off very soon. because they're starting to slip right now on this map that they chose on the attacker side, where, like I said before, they've had a lot of success mostly on the attacker side too. And now they're going back to doing some control towards this B side, but every single time FNS is there to put a cage up. So that slows everything down, and it seems as though
Look
it's
at that fake TP. Oh my gosh, it's drawn everyone over. I'm sorry, Vinsley, but that just threw two defenders from Envy over to B, and the C bomb site is wide open. What a move from Complexity right there. I'm going to be talking about that for a while.
Well, we're going to have the Hunter's Fury come out that tags onto 2, and it's still going to be Sharky that gets the kill onto FNS. And as we're trying to still get the spike plant, there's not much time left, and finally they do, because they have a lot of teammates to watch each other's backs, but kaboose still gets a frag. He's going to be the flanker onto ohai, so the one watching the rotation is down. Turtled up inside the site are the last 4 players of Complexity, as the Hunter's Fury rings out from Jonah B. He lands with one, looks for another one, tags his teammate, but kaboose gets 2 kills of his own. mummAy storming in with the Blade Storm, and that is a beautiful retake. Lex, you say that they're rotating out of C, but every single time, the retake is always just perfect back every time.
That was such a fun round. That's the second, like, insane, third round that's been crazy in this game so far, okay? Like, okay, if you guys didn't catch what I'm describing, and I apologize again for cutting you off, but I just could not get over how cool that was. XP3 gets spotted at the front of B, all right? There's Food is up on the boxes to his left, and there's FNS on his right holding a crossfire on the bomb site. They can see him, they hear him, they know he's there, and everyone starts rotating in. crashies pulls off C, but they're all wary of it, okay? XP3 fake teleports into the bomb site with 2 Omen smokes, but he TPs down to the bottom of mid, and you saw all 3 players. crashies turns around, FNS turns around, Food turns around, and they all go back and they clear out the back of B for like 10 seconds as all of Complexity runs onto C. It was a beautiful little detail in that round that changed the outcome. Well, it didn't end up changing the outcome, but it changed the strategic moves right away. Yeah, it was cool to see, and it was obviously Complexity is having a field day, you know, working these C splits against Envy. But you know, you mentioned it. Envy has retaken the bomb site almost every single time that they've landed there. So, you know, as much as I'm praising Complexity for their cool strat right there and the play that they made successfully, Envy's doing a much better job than anything that we're stating right now at retaking and just, you know, shutting down the plays that Complexity is making.
Yep. And when you're looking at the rounds that they have where Complexity is trying to work towards his B side, like I said, I wanted to know how Envy would kind of be prepared as to what they could do versus Complexity on these B hits. First off, it's that cage, but I think every time they put the cage up, Complexity has been walking back inside the garage and eventually split into C. So there's no real rotation back or a reset of the strategy where they kind of keep them guessing. Because as you have people rotating towards this B side from A, for example, when the execution starts, but you land towards C, the rotation from A to B already happened. So the time it takes to rotate all the way to C to regain that site is a lot faster for Envy and makes it harder for Complexity. And speaking about harder for Complexity, they're on a mix buy into this round here, and it's going to be 2 players falling early. They're trying to push up once again. The opshot misses from mummAy, but he still has backup from more players towards his top B and also from garage. So everybody's converted there, or converged into that area for Envy. They still have the spike up on the back here of ohai, but he's low on HP. And Food is going to try to battle it up versus AGM, wins it versus the Sheriff. And the last 2 guys, they're going to count their pennies, and hopefully they're going to be able to add a little bit more to their wallet if they could plant a spike inside this B site. But the crossfire is still too much here.
I'm going to be a little bit critical of Complexity, probably for the first time in a minute. But, and this is something I've seen over both maps, Fancily, and correct me if I am wrong. But
you're always right.
You know, across the series that we have casted, we've seen a lot of teams that are very good on ecos, specifically Sheriff buys, you know, that can be very scary. We saw LG many times. Like, I talked about a Proto for hours on the cast the other day about how great his Sheriff was. Thief, those guys, But I haven't seen that often, or that payoff that often for Complexity, and they're investing a pretty significant amount into those rounds, the Sheriff half arm or whatever it may be. And I feel like more often than not, they don't really have a plan. They're just kind of wandering around waiting to get peaked. And whether or not they find Sheriff kills is indifferent, I'm indifferent to that. Just for the sake of they're not winning the rounds, right? They maybe get a kill or 2, but it's having almost no significant impact whatsoever. So, you know, the difference that I would maybe like to describe is that a lot of those teams that we do see have success, Vansili, are working strats with those sheriff buys, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're spreading into a default for a bit and then, you know, executing as a team. But I'm watching Complexity basically wander around the map with sheriffs, and that's like the third or fourth eco from Bind to Haven that we've seen, where they get maybe one kill and that's it, despite investing a ton. I just would like to see them do something together on those rounds, at least to make it so they can at least put a spike down or get in the bomb site. It seems as though they don't really fully intend to win those rounds.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And I know that sounds stupid to say, but that is legit. You know, going into those rounds without a plan, you just have to count on your players to get lucky and find some frags. And unfortunately, it's not happening for them now. Straight out the gate, see an Allen come down long C. mummAy finding some aggression over at long A. That's a frag going on to Jonah P. XP3 gets dropped by crashies on the other side of the map. So
we haven't seen that in a while.
There is that same, on Bind, we were talking about this quite a bit, where the defense of Envy constantly are putting themselves in positions to be man advantage, two-man advantage. And right there, we just saw it again. Envy does trade one out, but doesn't really matter, does it? We're on Haven. This is 4-on-3. Still a rough spot for Complexity. And Envy doing a good job of making sure that there's no point are they going to be in control of this half. At least not to this point.
Well, they tried for the control finally towards the A side. It was a trade-off, opt for a rifle, actually. So I believe that Complexity into this round, they come winner out of that. But they also lost the second player all the way towards C earlier on in this round. And now as I say that, unfortunately, the round is slipping through their fingers for Complexity as, you know, even though they lost mummAy at the beginning of the round, you still had Finesse that was able to put a camera into sewers so that he could actually spot to see if there's going to be some sort of a push that's going to happen towards the A site eventually. But as he still only saw ohai with the operator, he didn't really need to have that big of a rotation, but they still have the lurk that goes forward. But FNS, man, he's pushing through smokes, getting kills. He's on a different level for today, and he's feeling himself in the series. And it's looking to be a 7-1 right now, as only ohai remains, and FNS is the one to hunt him down of all players remaining here for Envy. So that's going to be 7-1 now for the defender side of Envy, where it shows now in this best out of 3 that, you know, despite this being Complexity's map and how good they've been in other matches, the money, they're always in a situation so far here, Lex, where they kind of want to force buy as a team and then go for a full rifle. Doesn't work out. Let's force buy again as a team. They're going in situations where it's an eco, it's a buy. It's an eco, it's a buy. And you don't really go for full safe classics where you can really bring that economy up and really maybe help out for, I don't know, if you want to go for double op when nothing else works. I know it's not common on the attacker side, but they have to try something different now.
I'm in agreement with you. Caboose finding contact over here in sewers. I love this play. Gets on out of there cleaning with the Reyna. Yeah, twice we've seen him make that immaculate performance.
Okay.
Line him up, Jonah P. As I'm about to tell Caboose he's amazing. Steps into the crosshair with Jonah. But this is now Complexity's advantage. 4-on-3 with a bomb plant. So, you know, the spike going down is usually the indicator of whether or not this is a potential save for Envy, but you know, they've won so many rounds in a row. There's so much money in their bank accounts. I can't imagine they won't at least post up for exits. And FNS, you were just talking about it, and it's somebody who we don't talk about often enough as being a significant contributor to this Envy squad, but he's playing it lights out in this series, picking up another one. crashies closes it on an AGM. You know, they elect to go for it, and despite the fact that they had that man advantage that I described, it almost looks easy for Envy retaking right there.
Yeah. And now they
double ops recovered too.
Exactly. They salvaged the op from ohai. Now they have double op on this defender side. It's going to continue to get harder and harder for Complexity. And thankfully, they got a spike plan on that previous round that adds the economy that they have necessary to go with these rifles that they have into this round here. So this is going to be 2 rounds that they're trying to move forward with a force buy, I guess, in the end. You get a spike plan, you have 2 players with small shields, but kind of wish you had more. But working towards the A side, they finally seem to be able to get some map control towards A and C. But it's just a pulse plan position. Something's not working right in their formula to hold these spikes on the pulse plan. And finally, as they try to get an entry towards B side, it works out. But they're pushing down towards long C for Envy. Sorry, long B works for Complexity, but long C works for Envy. But even after that pick, they still decide to fall back. So they don't press on a flank. They have an alarm bot there too for Complexity, so that's good enough. But they're still looking to just eventually execute inside this B side, and look at that.
What just happened? Oh, that's crashies at mid window. I'm like, I had no idea what just happened. Everybody got mowed down from behind. Oh my goodness. Complexity getting dismantled at this point. And you know what? We talked about it with Yinzu, Vansili. We talked about it in the post game for Bind. But we've seen it like 3 rounds in a row now for Envy, where they're walking down long C. They're peeking out aggressively at long A. They got the double ops in hand, and there's not even a close answer for Complexity. We saw AGM taking a dry gunfight against a food halfway walk down long C with an operator, losing the battle. I mean, unfortunately, those are kills that you just cannot miss the opportunity to get. And, you know, as many rounds as Complexity started off, man down, 2 men down from these operators. It's been out of hand since Bind, and it's just getting worse at this point. So Envy already 5-on-4 in the anti-eco. Ness finds one, finds a second, crashes, grabs another, and that's a wrap. That's it. And Envy is just clearly showing that they are a cut above Complexity here.
Yeah, and there's another factor we have to consider here at this point, Lex. I don't think it's necessarily. Yes, we could see a little bit more from Complexity, right? But in the end, it's also a matchup where whoever wins this one goes into the top 8 for first strike in December. Whoever loses the series, they have to go through the second qualifier. They don't have to go through the gauntlet, but they still have to play another qualifier to make it here. So Envy could also be on a whole different level where, you know, they've studied their opponents for Complexity at the same time too. For both of these maps, they've tweaked up their defense on Bind as well. And they've just perfected everything to show how we have such one-sided results in favor of this team of Envy.
I know exactly.
And I think you are. Oh my goodness. And in the last round of the half, actually, I was about to say Caboose is going to get the final frags here, but it didn't happen. Suddenly. Ohai getting that frag, and XP3, of course, who's having, I mean, to put it mildly, a rough half.
Yeah.
Okay, like this is not an ideal scenario, just even in the mindset of a player to be struggling this hard. It's tough to recover from it. And certainly you're already down a map in the series. And now you're down 10-1 on your map pick. It's, you know what? This morning, Vansili, I was recounting to both Simo and Doug about how often, at this very point in a series, I heard myself say, and this is probably looking like the end of it because there's no way that they're going to come back. And we saw so many comebacks, so I'm not willing to call this one yet. Okay, maybe I'm willing to call it now. Food dropping the spike on C, 20 seconds remaining. But Complexity is just getting absolutely worked. mummAy closing out 11-1 half. Envy looking fierce.
Switching sides.
That was just a small detail in that last round there, where how we saw that Cypher play from FNS. It's they put the smoke up. I like the idea of what XP3 was doing. Some people are going to be like, well, why is the smoke actually on that wall over there? I think they wanted to just place it so that, one, hopefully it covers the camera, or 2, at least if it doesn't cover the camera, allows for them to get into the site out of surprise. But the camera wasn't covered by the smoke. That allowed FNS to actually look through the camera and see David Garrido, XP3, get into the site from the shadow step and then easily tag it for his teammates to just hold it. So in the end, though, it's looking very rough here for Complexity.
You said his name like an American. That was surprising. Usually your proper pronunciation with everything, but
that's true.
David Garrido.
It's true, especially I'm a French guy. Garrido.
He's a fellow Frenchman. Come on now. There you go. There you go. Love it.
Much needed pistol round at least, though. AGM is at least down at the corner, but he's looking for this hero play. He gets the first one at the caboose. That's it.
Woo! Close one. Honestly thought maybe he's going to have a line him up situation there, but FNS already on the bomb site, finding another one, and this is just like, it's painful to watch. Okay?
Well, that's the thing here.
I don't mean that to be mean. I just mean Envy is this good.
Yeah.
And Complexity, who we normally wouldn't expect to be competitive in this matchup anyway. You know, we put that expectation on them to make this a close game, and unfortunately, it's just hasn't panned out.
Oh no. And the thing is, at least he gets that kill. No, he doesn't get that kill. It's just a Shark Dart that comes through. Sharky's trying to jump out, and that's it. Match and series point for Envy, but just that pistol round itself, I had to stand up and really look
Match
close
point.
to my monitor just to try to figure out if somebody was there with AGM to play the trade. The angle is right. I mean, Caboose has done it twice in a row where he's able to get a kill and dismiss away. But that's the key word. He was able to dismiss away. AGM is playing a Killjoy, so that if he gets the first kill, there's no way of escape. He has to fight for more. And when you have 3 players of Envy pushing down to play for that trade, when they play as a team to try to take a site, you have to be probably on the top of your game to be able to at least get 2 on the single clip of a frenzy when 3 guys are pushing after you. And unfortunately, as soon as he dies, everybody else is off rotation because you had 2 players playing towards C and then 2 players playing Garage and A Link, if I'm not mistaken, for the last 2 guys, which just opened up an easy site for Envy inside A. And when people are trying to rotate already, they're off balance, off timing on the retake because you have the first guy from A Link trying to get information first, he dies, and then the last 3 moving through, they just get picked.
Oh no. AGM thought he had a cheeky little spot there and a setup with XP3, but FNS has seen that before, y'all. Clearly. And I want to just bring attention. Okay, I was about to say he's only got 4 deaths in the game. That's his 5th. This man's like 23 and 5 or something like that right now. FNS out here playing Farmville. That's gonna do it. 13-1. Yeah,
oh man, did you hear that?
Describe that as a blowout.
Did you
no,
hear
I
that?
didn't.
It was at the Jett in the end with the
What'd she say?
too easy.
It certainly seemed that way.
Yeah, unfortunate there. But you know what? No matter what, we're not going to harp on it more. It's still a big congratulations here for Envy. Dominating performance in the series, and they're going to be that second team that qualifies into the top 8 in December. So we've already witnessed for 2. I think if we look at the results from the Sentinels game versus T1, Sentinels won that one as well. So there's a match going on right now to determine the 4th team moving forward out of 8. Or the 14 that's going to be moving forward out of 8. Yes, of course. It's the TSM matchup versus 100 Thieves. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch as well. But let's recap on this series here, as I think we're bringing Yinsu back, right?
Oh, not like this. Not like this. You don't want to go out of the qualifiers like this, guys.
Yeah.
You know, again, massive congrats to Envy, but Complexity made it so far. They showed so much improvement. You know, they caused an upset as well. Guys, if you were them right now, what would you say is the one thing they need to take away from this to focus on, because they do have to play that UMG qualifier next week as well? Lex, I'll come to you first.
I wonder whether or not, and granted, I'll say this, I've only watched one of their series from earlier in the tournament where they did really well, so I'll have to go back and maybe answer this a little bit more accurately. But for me, from what we saw right there, Vansili, I mean, it seemed like a very clear strategic decision, you know, on the behalf of Envy in a lot of those rounds. You know, the defense was that good and the score lines were that severe because I don't want to throw out statistics that aren't real right now. Okay, we just got over a pretty significant period of time where we dealt with that a lot. But you know what? This is almost every single round going the way of Envy. Yep. And it's going the way of Envy because they're starting out 5v3 in these openers of just trying to get some map control, trying to spread the map out. And I don't fault Complexity for needing to stick to what they know and playing their game. But legitimately, Envy is doing something very conscious and very deliberate to exploit the fact that you have holes in your defense on both extremities of the map. And unfortunately, instead of describing it all the time as Envy doing something, you know, very well and very intelligent, we're looking at it through the lens of Complexity doesn't seem to have an answer for it, right? They don't necessarily know.